Hey guys, it's Kaitlin with Ormond Arms, and today is the day I'm going to build my first AR. So thankfully I have Frank Johnson here with me to help me and give me some guidance on how to get this done.
Yeah, so it's good. I'm glad you're learning. There's a few little tricks, and I think every gunsmith does it a little bit differently. Usually what I'll do is I'll start with all my components, the small stuff, take it out of their packaging. Similar to your customers, when they get it from you, they're going to have everything in packaging. So I open up everything and check. So some of the things you're going to want to do first before you begin is make sure you have everything you need.
Okay.
So obviously, you have your bolt. You're not going to fire without it. And then these are actually Ormond Arms charging handles.
Yes.
You obviously have your standard type of charging handle that looks similar to these two, but in black. This is your ambidextrous, and what that is that from either side, when you pull, it will release. These I have these on all my guns. Obviously, I don't do anything colorful, but there's a lot of people who like the color, like the show. So these are your anodized red and blue. So when we're building, you don't just choose which one you want. I'll show you how to put that together.
Okay.
And then we're going to get into assembling your gas block and gas tube and how you're going to put those together and how you're going to align them. Because you have the hole for your pin, your retention, and then your hole for where your gas comes from your barrel to cycle your bolt carrier group.
Okay.
And then this will be your little pin. This will go through. Here's your punch. This is a roll pin punch. I will also show you how to use needle nose pliers if you don't have a roll punch. I do recommend that if you're going to get into ARs, you do get them, because when you get into our next one, the forward assist, it's not so easy using pliers. And when we get to that point, I'll explain to you why you'd like to get a roll pin punch for that. And so you have 4 to 6 roll pins depending on your setup and the parts you have. The other punch you're going to want a regular punch to drive the roll pin in once you set it in. Also, I use a 3/8 because a 3/8 punch also helps to line up with you get to the lower. When you're lining up your trigger and your hammer for the pins to set it, it fits in perfect. Then you're going to get into your dust cover. So the dust cover you got to get in before you put your barrel or anything, because with this type of dust cover, the rod here that retains it is got to slide in to your upper. Now there are some dust covers that are pre-assembled, and all you got to do is push in. There's a spring inside, and that little rod pushes in, and you can put that in last. You can remove it, change it to American flags, don't tread on me, any of those. So that's a lot of what you're going to look at first, is getting all this in, and then we'll get into the barrels and your flash arresters. Excuse me. So let me get you started with your gas block and your gas tube. So I'll explain to everybody, you're going to want to use a vise, and some things to be mindful of is on your vise, your grip plates. So on this vise that I use for my gas blocks, I purposely use, because it's designed, but also there is no teeth. If you're going to have a dedicated vise, you can remove these plates and use the actual vise, like this part. There won't be this plate because it's smooth. So if you don't mind, I'll show you how I set them up.
Okay.
So what you want to consider when you're setting it up is, I've seen people stick them out like this, or when they put them in, let me reel it and show you, is if you set it up where it can slide down, you're going to mar your finish. So what I do is I make sure I line up my holes before I completely tighten. So you want to check to play back and forth through the hole, make sure you're on the right hole, and then you want to look here. So if you see this curve, and the reason I'm using this is for demonstration, why it's long. You see this curve, this is designed to get over your barrel nut. You want to make sure that it comes out and curves up away from the barrel, or here, the hole where this would slide over, because that needs to get over your barrel. If you put it this way, you're going to run into 2 problems. It won't get on your gun, and you're not going to line up the hole on the inside of your gas block. And we'll use a barrel here to demonstrate that. This port is where the gas will come out and enter your hole here in the gas block, which then will line up with this hole here and allow the gases to travel up. This gas tube lines up with your BCG, or bolt carrier group, and allows that gas to cycle your bolt so you can have another round. That's what makes it a semi-automatic. So let me show you what I do here, and then I'll let you pin these together.
Okay.
So set it up here, make sure a little pressure there, make sure it's flat on that. That's the most important part. So that way when it's in there, the tube is less likely to pivot on you. So we'll make sure that's lined up, get our holes lined up right, put pressure, and tighten it up. So it should be lined up. Little trick is these are what I have for the roll pin removals in case something happens, I got to take it out. You can drop it in, you can wiggle in, make sure it's lined up right, that you're good to go. Now, here you go. Here's your thing. You want to line that up, get that in the hole, and grab your pinging hammer.
Whoa. Nails make this hard to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, go ahead and grab your hammer. Give it some love taps on there. Get in there, give it a little harder. There you go. Now let's check and see. All right, so you're good in there. With the gas block, like I said, you can do it with the needle nose. Got a roll pin here. And do it because it's, you're open, you have a lot, 360 degrees of work. You can use needle nose to get that in. I've used needle nose as well. But now that you're in, I can see this is not moving. You're pretty good. Go ahead, take your hammer. You don't need the roll pin. You don't need a punch. Just give it some love taps. Put it through. Go ahead, hit it harder. Get it in there. There you go. Go ahead. Oh, go flush.
Harder?
You want to go flush. There you go. Don't be shy.
Jeez.
Okay. So now you're in there. It's not going to come out. That gas block is done. So now let's move on to looking at the other parts. And what we're going to do now is we're going to take your upper with your block assembly that's going to hold it. And I'm just going to sit in here right now to show the viewers what we're going to do. Now I got to turn it around so that you can actually work on it, because working from the backside is not the best. So what we're going to do, let me do this punch, is we're going to put in your dust cover first. That's key. If you forget to put in now your forward assist, you can always put it at the end of the build. Nothing's blocking it, but you're not going to be able to get that in with this bar if your barrel nut and everything is on. You're going to have to take that all back off to get the dust cover on. So with the dust cover, you're going to have the cover, the plate itself. And how this works is this little detent here will lock into the upper to keep it closed. There's not much this does other than keeping dust and dirt while you're not using it from getting in. So when you charge your gun, when you got your charging handle on it, and you pull back, this detent housing here sits in this groove. So what happens is now you're ready to use your firearm. You pull back, it hits that, dislodges the detent, and opens up your dust cover. So now you're ready to fire, and then when you fire, all your brass casings are going to come out this way. So we'll do that from this side. I can do that for you, or you can do it. And then we'll show you how to set this in, because this is going to get really tricky, because this flat side must go straight up and down while going. If you have it off, your roll pin will get stuck. You're going to have to turn the gun over, take it off, drive the pin out, start over. You can bend the pin, have to get a new one. The forward assist usually come with one roll pin. The gas block, for some reason, will come with two, and then the gas tube will come with one or two. So with the gas tubes, you end up with 3 to 4 roll pins. So sometimes you make a mistake, you can fix it. Here, you have to go buy some or at the hardware. So let's do this. This is a little tricky. I'll show you this one, and then I'll let you do the forward assist, because how you're going to do this spring, it's got to be set in a very particular way. So what we're going to do is we're going to, and this is easy to do from this side. When we get the forward assist, we're going to have to turn it around. You're going to start it in, go through, pull it out so it's flush. Now, if you see here, you've got 2 tails on this spring. You got this long one and this short one. Okay, so the long one is going to go to the rear of the upper. And what you're going to have to do is when you put it in on the surface, and then you're going to pull up on the short tail to give tension. So let's see if I can do it. I've never had to do it from this way. All right, it's going to be a little tricky. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to catch that short tail on the exit port here and use both fingers, push it in while keeping tension, get that tail on there, drive that rod into that spring. It can be tricky from this side. Let's see if I can get it up. Yeah, let me turn it around. Probably the best. Yeah, it's best to be set up in a way that you can work when doing this. Turn it around here. Lock that in. Now, yeah, I can do it this way much easier. Push it in. Now, on your rod here, you're going to have the C-clip. And if you see the C-clip, it has this here. This is the part that slides on. You want to rotate that to that opening is facing your threads.
Okay.
Because what's going to happen if you don't, you're going to be like this, you're going to catch on that, and you're going to have a hard time to get that past that.
Okay.
So rotate that through, so it'll pass through. Line up your end here, push it through, and there you go. Now your dust cover's up, ready to go.
Awesome.
Okay, so now let's go ahead and do the forward assist.
Okay.
Give you here, here's your roll pin.
All right.
Here's your roll pin punch. Let's face it towards you. You can line up right here with it. And now with this, what you're going to do is you're going to start the roll pin. You're not going to drive it. Just get it into the pin is started.
Okay, start it first?
Yeah, start it first, just slightly. So that it's, you should be able to get it in there, and then the punch will stand on it all by itself. Yeah.
Doesn't fit into
Let me see.
this one.
Well, maybe try this roll pin. Sometimes they're a little bit off from each other. There you go.
Ah.
Yeah, it fits in there perfect.
Okay. All right.
And then you take your hammer and give it a few taps. A little more. There you go.
Oh.
It stands up on its own. Yeah, you're pretty good. Okay. Now, like I said, you're going to make sure that you have that lined up, because what's going to happen is that pin is going to sit right there to keep that from coming out.
Okay.
You put it in there, and you'll see the spring. So you're going to have to do is you're going to have to hold with one finger, and I usually do my middle finger.
Okay.
And then use my pointer and my thumb to hold the punch.
Am I pushing this in?
Yep, go ahead, push it all the way in.
Okay.
You want to go all the way in?
Oh.
Yeah. It's stiff. And grab your hammer and drive your punch down. There you go.
Can I hold it like that?
Yeah, you want to hold this because sometimes this will twerk and you can break your roll pin.
All right. It's kind of an awkward.
Yeah, it's very awkward, but go ahead, hit it. Hit it with love.
More?
Hold on, let's get that in there. See, so here, and sometimes I can do it like this, and then I'll just here. Don't be afraid.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And sometimes you're slightly off. Like I just felt this turn a little bit because it's slightly off. But you see, you can go like this. It's locked in, even though the pin is not all the way down.
Okay.
Now, Alex, this is what I was talking about doing this with needle nose. Because if I do this with needle nose, holding that like that, you can do it. It'll work. Problem is, you see how close my hammer is to my upper?
Yes.
If I hit, I'm going to damage my upper. If you're not worried about that, fine. But if you're doing this and you want this gun to be a showpiece, you don't want to damage that finish.
Okay.
So that's when you bring in your regular punch. And usually I'll keep my finger between the punch and the roll pin. Do it from this angle. Just to keep it from sliding off. And drive it down. And you'll feel a little bit come up, and then you can do one of two things. You can use it this way, and it can might little scratch a little bit, or you can get a punch that has a round edge to drive it further down, or just a smaller punch that'll drive it below the surface. But see there, now it's flush. You might feel a little bit there. Let's drive a little bit more. There you go. That's good. Now, before you continue, does it work?
Yeah.
If something happens and it's wrong, just pull it out, flip it over, and you have the end hole here. So what you'll do is you'll take a punch that'll go all the way through, and you're just going to drive it back out.
Okay.
Simple as that.
Okay.
Close that. All right, so now we're going to go into the barrel, and how this works, I'll use a larger barrel. We're going to do it with a pistol. So you're going to slide your barrel nut over. In this case, then you'll see this nub. You know, this is your guide nub here. Some people have different names for it. With AR barrels, regardless of AR15, 300, there's actually two parts. This is a part that's threaded onto this part of the barrel. This barrel actually has a thread underneath, but this is designed to lock up with the BCG, the bolt carrier group.
Okay.
And then you'll notice there's the feed ramp to feed your bullets in. You put that in. Bring your barrel nut over, and in this case, you just get the wrench on there.
All right.
Okay. And all right. So we already got your barrel all set up that you're going to do for your gun, which is going to be this 300 blackout pistol. So how I do it is I put the barrel nut on, I put my gas tube on, but sometimes I'll build like 50 of these at a time, and I got my muzzle brake on. So I'll let you do it. It's just that they're all here at once. Okay. And you want to make sure you line up your gas tube to the hole in the upper.
All right.
Yep, you're all the way in.
Yep.
Okay. And then just slide your barrel nut on and thread it on by hand.
Okay.
All right, very good. So get hit on a few points here. So we're going to use this wrench to tighten up. But in earlier videos we talked about the armorer's wrench. These two wrenches are not designed so for this. This one actually you can get on here, but it's going to be tight sometimes. This one's good. This one isn't. I like this one for, again, like the castle nut one. That's going to be the lower. This I usually will keep in a bag for the field. This is good as well. It's a bit tight because I put the gas tubes on, like I mentioned. So I use this wrench because it'll actually go around my gas tubes. So you can actually just kind of tighten it up lightly. So it's done. It's not going to go anymore. Make sure you're locked up on there. And then you can take a mallet. See, we're not bolted down with our vise. That's enough. Normally you can actually take these, and some people want a torque wrench. If you use a tool like this for anything with different barrel nuts, like I said, these will lock into certain different designs. These squares here are designed for your torque wrench. So you can put that on, put your torque wrench there, set it at 30 pounds, and then torque it down. Okay. That's what it is. You want to get the exact 30. I don't necessarily agree because there's some loss. So from here, 30, if you actually go center like you would on a bolt and measured it, it wouldn't be 30. It might be at 20. So that's why I usually use a large wrench with a large handle and get it down to where it's snug and not going to move with the wrench. And then either I'll hit it with my palm or the mallet and it's locked in. All right. So now you're lined up. Now there's one trick. You see my marker here. So as you've been doing it a while, you don't necessarily need to do this, but what I'll do from the gas tube, this is the spine that runs the length, is you can make a line right there, there it is, and come up and look down your spine, make a line there, you can make a line there. It doesn't need to be a long line. What you want to do is make sure your gas tube is right over that hole. Back in your line up, bring her in, and then we're going to go over to our Allens. This one usually comes with the kit. Okay. We have a whole set, but I would say use what comes with your kit. And if you want, you're just going to tighten them up. There's going to be two. Make sure you keep this from moving up here and lock it in. If you want to get the other one, there's a second one there in the back, right underneath.
I doing it right?
Yeah, you're going in the right direction. Here you go.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now go tight on it. Good.
Good?
Yeah. So, I've heard people asking, hey, I bought a gun, it was firing good, and then it stopped firing, and I had to keep charging it. So when they're saying charging it, they're having to, they got their charging handle, let's say they fired a round, and it doesn't cycle, and they've got to recharge it each time. What happens, because a lot of people think when they buy the gun, you never have to do anything else. You don't buy a car and think you don't have to change the oil, rotate tires.
Maintenance.
Yeah, the maintenance issue. So a lot of rails, including this one we'll be putting on, I've noticed that a lot of gas blocks, those little screws, line up pretty fairly well between here that you don't even need to take off the rail. But in any case, if you have to remove the rail knot, these are things that you need to make sure are snug and tight. Every time you go out shooting, when you come back, you're going to clean the gun, make sure those things are snug. Check your gun over, make sure everything is good. One thing we didn't go over when we talked about the tools in the previous video was Loctite.
Okay.
So this is the Thread Locker Blue 242 removable. They have some that are not what they refer to as not removable, and those you're going to need a power tool to get off. If you put those other ones on there, you're not going to get it off with your little Allen wrench. I wouldn't recommend using that. You can use a little bit of this, put on the screws if you want to help things from coming out. That's a good one to have around. So now we got your muzzle brake, and go over how these work, the muzzle brakes, because you're going to have to clock it in, is that you have the side here with the vents, and then this side with nothing. That's to go to the bottom. What that does, it works like a spoiler on a car, is that the flame comes out, it pushes down to keep your muzzle from rising, so it pushes that barrel back down so you kind of stay pretty much on target.
Okay.
What I noticed with a lot of these muzzle brakes and flash arresters and compensators is that these two flat sides that you see, obviously that's for the wrench, but when they machine them that they should be vertical. The line should be vertical and you'll be clocked on. So it's pretty much by your eye. But we'll go ahead and put that all the way on. Okay, now you see like you're done.
Yeah.
So the important thing of a crush washer that is right here is that it's a soft metal, and it'll come in and allow you to keep turning that, and it'll help lock it on. Yeah, so then you'll do that. So let's turn it this way. Get your wrench on there. And go ahead, keep going down until these are pretty much vertical. You want to go all the way to this flat part is on the bottom.
Oh, okay. All right.
So we're at. Yeah, pretty good. Yeah, good. So now you're all set with your barrel.
Okay.
Now here's your handguard. And in this handguard, you got two screws here that are going to pull together these two sides of the aluminum. Now what I like to tell everybody is you have to be mindful of which screw you start with when you start tightening. You can put them in loosely by hand, but when you start tightening, always start with the muzzle end first. Because what's happening if you tighten up here and there's slack in here, and then you tighten up here, you can crack your handguard if it's made from aluminum.
Okay.
So always start here, close this end up, and work your slack out of the handguard. Okay. So this one should be able to slide on very easily, and I'll show you this other barrel that we used in the demonstration was this one. This is a gnarled, has a texture to it. So every handguard manufacturer has a different style nut that's optimum for the guard. This one has a bit of a grip. So sometimes when you get these, I don't know if this one even fit in there. Yeah, it slides in. So some of them are it'll be very tight on this. When you have that barrel nut in there, and you put it onto your gun, you're gonna have to get a rubber mallet and tap it in. But in this case, the barrel nut we have is a smooth nut that's large enough to have a little friction in there. And then we'll get you a wrench with a kit, put it on. There you go. There's your handguard.
Okay.
Okay, you can go ahead and put that on.
So do I need to loosen one of these first?
They should be loose, I think, but you can check.
With this?
No, this one here.
This one, okay.
Now with these type of Allen wrenches, see that ball on the end? never use this ball
Okay.
to tighten down. You can use this to feed it in while it's loose.
Okay.
But you always torque down with the one that's on the handle grip.
Okay, they
So they're
moved
loose?
pretty easy,
Okay.
yeah.
I'll go ahead and place it in there. And line up your top, you're good.
Okay.
Now you can use this long end to get it just where they're a little bit of tension on
So
them.
start with this
The front
first
one, yeah,
one,
closest
okay.
to the muzzle.
Oh, sorry,
Closest to the
this
muzzle,
one.
yep. Good, go there.
Okay.
Now you can switch over to the handle, and that one's actually for
Okay,
torquing. Tighten it down. Good, and then you do your back. And now sometimes after you finish the back one, go back to the front, because sometimes that'll take a little tension off that front, and make sure it's up nice and tight. There you go, good.
Okay.
So there, your upper is pretty much done. We got one more step to do to complete an upper. This is really a complete upper. That's why you see, like on your store page, it'll say upper with or without VCG and charging handle. So inside here, you're going to see, where's my punch? There's a circle. If you see that circle, is a machining milled out perfectly for your charging handle, these guide nubs right here. This is going to work like this. So when you put it in, it's going to fit right in there. You slide down and it slides down the channel. And see how it goes over the gas tube? So when you charge, you're not running into it. But see back here, it stops. So there's a little trick. You get it in a little bit, like this. And our VCG. I'm going to flip it out. You'll make sure that that face is all the way out. So like this, you're going to have a problem getting in because that's going to catch. See, it'll hit. So flip it out, slide it in. You're good to go. And your upper is done.
All right.
So I think the next thing for you is building your own lower.
I agree.
That'll be a little more work. So if you have any questions, please let me know.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That was awesome. I'm very excited to have this one done and to do many more. So I think that's it for today.
That's it for today until we get your 80%, or I think in your case you're going to get a completed lower part, serialized, and attach it to this, and you're good to go. We'll do the buffer tubes, and but for everybody watching, that whole setup, regardless of the pistol or a rifle, identical setup. Just a few different things: larger handguard, and a longer gas tube. The gas blocks are all the same. The only things that might be different, if you get a larger barrel, the diameter of the gas block, and in this case is a 300 blackout, which is the same as a 308 compensator, muzzle brake, or flash arrestor. Those are the slight differences, but the 300 is pretty much identical to the 223.556. Same bolt carrier group, same handle, same magazine, everything is the same.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you, Frank. Thank you very
welcome.
much. And thank you guys for watching. And please subscribe. And we'll see you next time.